Good morning, everyone. Today we are presenting the paper Teleworking and Worker Productivity of Peruvian Incoming Tour Operators. The researchers are Liz Pacheco Pumaleque and Mauro Granados from Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos, Alex Pacheco from Universidad Nacional de Cañete, Edwin Vegas from Universidad Peruana de Ciencias e Informática, and Rosario Pariona from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Huanta. We will start with the introduction. The pandemic generated by the COVID-19 virus made teleworking the most widely implemented work modality in all organizations worldwide. In Peru, in 2018, only 22% of Peruvian companies carried out teleworking. Due to the need for excessive control of workers. However, during the pandemic, remote work was adopted by 98% of Peruvian companies, Zapata 2020. However, many companies were not prepared for this change, causing bad experiences with teleworking, hearing teleworkers say that they are stressed, or hearing managers worried about the work performance of their collaborators, who were looking for ways to control times so as not to decrease their productivity. Such is the case of the European Union, where 40% of the population began to telework, causing workers to struggle to balance their work and private life, increasing unfinished tasks, and decreasing the general satisfaction of the person as a worker and as household member. Kerman et al. 2021. Then the problem we have is that worldwide, due to the pandemic, many companies had to implement teleworking in a compulsory way, without planning, without doing a prior study on the concordance of teleworking with the organizational culture, and without determining if the collaborators have tools, spaces, and necessary skills to get along in this work modality. Therefore, the objective of this research is to determine the influence of telework on worker productivity of Peruvian incoming tour operators, addressing the organizational change they made, the management of information and communication technologies, ICT, physical distance, and self-programming of tasks by collaborators. In regards to the theoretical basis, we have, according to Barbosa 2013, Garcia 2012, Buira 2012, telework allows employees to carry out work activities without having to go to a physical office, adopting more efficient and flexible organization structures, allowing self-programming and making use of information and communication technologies, ICT. Likewise, to implement this work modality, according to Sandoval 2014, Buira 2012, an organizational change is required that allows creating a climate of trust, full of commitment, that breaks several structural paradigms and types of leadership. Productivity is a concept essentially referred to the person, the worker, who in the work process is the generator of the organization's value. Cuesta 28. Likewise, productivity not only depends on the use of technology and resources by the organization, but also on the abilities, skills, and talents of employees, interactions with other people, and the environment within the company. Therefore, organizations must consider the three dimensions that determine worker productivity: individual, group, and organizational factors. Sequeira et al. 2011. Therefore, the good implementation of telework allows to develop a scheme of trust between the company and the collaborators, resulting in more productivity and unleashing more work motivation, more innovation, and more commitment to the organization. The methodology we followed for this research is quantitative, correlational, cross-sectional, applied, and non-experimental. The population is made up of the managers of 37 incoming tour operators in Peru who participated in the tourist fairs ITV Berlin, and Fitur in Spain during 2021. The data collection technique was the survey, applying a structured questionnaire with 24 statements to measure the opinion regarding telework and dimension, organizational change, ICT, distance, and self-programming, and 21 statements to measure the opinion regarding worker productivity and the dimensions individual, group, and organizational factors using the Likert scale. The hypothesis test used was Pearson's correlation. And to facilitate the interpretation of the results of the questionnaire, scales were established for each variable and dimension. The scales were determined through the calculation of percentiles, forming three levels, good, fair, bad, to obtain the statistical frequency. Because of the lack of time, we will only present three results of the research. The first one is shown in the table 1, which is the statistical frequency of telework. Table 1 shows that 81% of the managers of the Peruvian incoming tour operators indicate that telework is good, while 19% reflects a regular perception. Table 2 is the statistical frequency of the organizational change dimension and shows that 89% of the managers of the Peruvian incoming tour operators indicate that their perception of organizational change is good, while 11% reflects a regular perception. And Table 3 shows the statistical frequency of self-programming dimension, showing that 68% of the managers of the main Peruvian tour operators present a good perception regarding self-programming, while 32% reflect a regular perception. We will follow with a discussion. In Table 1, the results shows that 81% of the managers of the incoming tour operators have a good perception of telework, presenting a good predisposition to the dimensions, organizational change, ICT, distance, and self-programming. Therefore, Peruvian tour operators can successfully implement teleworking, increasing their productivity. The research agrees with Acosta 2018, who investigated the point of view of teleworkers from the public sector of Medellin in Colombia regarding teleworking and labor productivity, concluding that performance and efficiency increase when teleworking, which contributes to the increase in labor productivity. Although 19% of those surveyed reflect having a certain resistance to teleworking, mainly due to the distance dimension in the indicator of emotional separation from work, followed by the self-programming dimension in the indicator level of worker self-discipline, whose values came out less favorable. Results like those obtained by Gelles 2020, who affirmed that in many companies telework promoted work hyper-efficiency, but the emotional and social cost of using this work modality during the pandemic was high. In Table 2, the perception of the organizational change of the results shows that 89% of the managers of the companies studied present a good predisposition to organizational change, which leads to Peruvian tour operators being able to implement teleworking in an ideal way. Results that agree with Lewis 2016, who affirms that a change in the organizational culture implies satisfaction at work. However, 11% of those surveyed still present some uncertainty towards organizational change because implementing a change in the mission, vision, and values of the company takes time and implies the commitment of management so that it can spread change throughout the organization. On the other hand, although the survey respondents stated that a change in operating procedures is necessary to implement teleworking, their perception towards leading a change in the organizational structure, taking it from verticality towards horizontality, was not so positive, most likely because think that giving up control can lead to creating a state of anarchy in their companies. Therefore, it is necessary to first address the fears that managers may present so that they can only make a change in the organizational structure. Finally, In Table 3, the results show that 68% of the managers or leaders of the studied companies have a good perception of the self-programming dimension to implement telework, seeking to carry out a management that values the objective achieved instead of hourly management of work done. Likewise, they indicated that their collaborators are aligned working to meet the same organizational objectives and that they trust that the members of their teams will carry out their work. Therefore, they provide them with the autonomy and necessary empowerment for them to carry out their work with little need for monitoring and control. Meanwhile, according to the study by Rodriguez Modroño and Lopez Igual 2021, the possibilities for the individual to choose where, when, and how to work should be more appropriately defined in terms of discretion than autonomy. However, 32% of the managers of the surveyed tour operators are also concerned that their collaborators can have a high level of self-discipline and that they have the necessary professional maturity so that they can meet their objectives without the need of someone supervising them. Finally, we present some of the references that we use for the research, and we thank you for your attention.